What's up, guys? Hey, I wanted to give you a little update of what I've been doing, why I ain't been on YouTube, and a little update on my truck, and yeah, what's been going on. But anywho, we'll go over here to the Ford. I was just about ready to make a video on the Ford because I got the engine put back together. I got my new well, they're rebuilt heads I ordered off eBay. I got my new heads on, got her all put together, got her running, and she's running pretty good, but I still wasn't quite happy. It has a little bit of a stutter to it, a little sputter when you hold the throttle open a little. And I did a little research, and I think what it is, it's the carburetor. It's got what they call a power valve, and they're known to blow the power valve, and then it starts dumping raw fuel in. And I think that's what it's doing. I said if you look in the carburetor while it's running with a flashlight, and if you see big heavy droplets of fuel, that was it, and that's what she was doing. So I ordered the carb kit, and I didn't want to run it anymore because too much fuel means they'll wash the oil off the cylinder walls and screw up the cylinders. So I ordered my carb kit. Should be laying here somewhere. Yeah, I don't know. It's somewhere around here. But then my van decides to blow a head gasket. Classic GM 3400. I was driving to the junkyard and I looked down and my temperature gauge is cranking up to hot, and I'm like, oh man, what is going on? But I stopped and let it cool off, and was able to drive back home without it getting any hotter. So I didn't know what the heck I was going to do with this thing, because me doing the job, parts are like $600 because you either got to take the heads. Here we go, cylinder heads again. You got to take the heads to the machine shop and have them all gone over, milled, and that would have been like $300, and then like $300 in parts. So I'm looking at $600. So for a while I thought maybe I could buy me something to replace it. Well, I can't find any good deals on Facebook or Craigslist. Everybody's selling junk. Either got knocking engine, blowed head gasket, bad transmissions. So I didn't know what I was doing here. Well, then I stopped at my buddy's house, and he's like, "Hey, you want to buy a car?" And this was before my van actually took a dump, but I had bought this little Grand Am for $300. And then as I said, before the Grand Am or the van blew up, I thought I was going to back out of this Grand Am because it's the same engine, 3400, and known for blowing head gaskets. And so at one point I was going to back out when I bought it because I hadn't paid him and we hadn't done the title. But so after the van blew, I said maybe I better fix the Grand Am. So I kept it. I put it had new brake lines just in the rear, but I ended up doing all of them up front, and they are buried. You can't even see them. They're clear down under this battery box and the battery bracket. You had to take off all this air ducting, take the electrical control box out. You can just see two new lines right there. My light's blowing it out too bright. So I got all new brake lines. I got cheap rotors and pads on eBay for $50. I got 2 used calipers at the junkyard for $5 a piece. So I did the front brakes. Rears were decent enough. What else did I do? Put a new used overflow bottle in it. All the power windows, none of them worked in this thing, not one. So I had all the doors apart, and there was a parts car at the junkyard, and I got all the windows and window tracks, the regulators. So I got all the windows working. The wheels and tires that were on here, the tires were about shot, but there was a car at the junkyard that had 4 nice tires, but they were 15s, and the car originally had 16s, but they were low pro 16s. These are high pro 15s, and they worked out to be about the same height, so I actually traded my wheels and tires for these, so they didn't cost me nothing. So I've been driving this little Grand Am. I've put about 400 miles on it now. I've been driving it a couple weeks or so, but it don't do bad. Got a strut banging, clunking around. It's the top strut mount. It's bad. But I got the struts out of that parts car for $10, so I might throw that strut in. But I'm just crossing my fingers and just waiting for the head gasket to blow. But you know, in the meantime, in my van, I was trying to decide, should I fix it? Should I junk it? And I started reading about this Blue Devil head gasket sealer. Some guys were swearing by it. Some guys says it don't work, don't mess with it. Some were saying don't use it, and then it doesn't work, and then you want to try to fix the engine because it might plug everything up. So I did a lot more research, and it don't really tell you right here on the bottle. But on their website, I started reading comments, and when a head gasket blows, it can leak in different places. It can do it in different places. It could leak coolant just outside the engine. It could leak coolant into the oil. It could leak combustion gas into the coolant, which is what this one did. I didn't have any antifreeze in the oil. It wasn't leaking outside, but I couldn't bleed the system. I couldn't bleed the cooling system. It just kept filling with air. So what they said to do is take all the spark plugs out, take the radiator cap off, make sure it's full, and put one spark plug in at a time and crank the engine. And when you, because see, when you take all the plugs out, you relieve the pressure in the cylinder. So, but when you put one plug in, that builds the pressure. Well, I found the one as soon as it's this first one on the left here. When that plug was in, it pushed the coolant up out. Wasn't really like bubbles, but it would just like push it out. And then you take that plug out, crank it over, and then that coolant wouldn't do nothing. It'd just sit there nice and steady. And then, so, but what they said to do, you have to put this stuff in the radiator and run it for 50 minutes and idle, and you should be good to go. But you got 175 pounds of compression in the cylinder. You only got 15 pounds of compression or pressure in the coolant system. How's this stuff going to go in when you got 175 pounds pushing out? Well, when you leave the spark plug out, that relieves the pressure. So I ran it for 50 minutes with the spark plug out, louder than hell. I tell you, I think the whole neighborhood heard me. But I'll be damned if it didn't. It plugged the hole. And I did a test drive, and it wasn't overheating. It was actually overcooling, which this fan never did really warm up that great on the temperature gauge. And I always had heat, but it wasn't the greatest. And I was going to change the thermostat out before I did all this. Well, what a nightmare. You can't even see down there, clear up underneath there is the thermostat housing. Service manual tells you got to remove the exhaust pipe, and them things are seized up. You're going to break bolts. So I took the throttle body off. All this stuff had to come out. There's a coolant pipe that was bolted to the throttle body, so you couldn't get the, and I didn't want to take all that coolant pipe, so I cut the bracket. Finally got down to the thermostat, and it was warped. It was allowing it to, wasn't sealing. And so now she's warming up good, getting better heat. So I don't have any tags or insurance on it, but I've snuck it out a few times, and I want to do it a few more around the back roads here. And if it keeps testing out, I can put my tags and insurance back on this. But I had a nightmare getting the spark plugs out. Front three, you know, yeah, no problem. Yeah, look where the back three are at. There's. Some people were saying to take the motor mounts loose and rock the engine, take the distributor off. And if you notice, I haven't got no wiper blades in the transmission, the wiper motors and stuff, where I took all that out because it ran under here, and that gained me some more space. Well, to take that out, you had to take out the washer bottle, windshield washer bottle. You had to take out all this electrical, take the battery out just to get the windshield washer stuff out, wiper stuff. I'll tell you, man. But anyways, I ended up, I thought maybe I could get to those plugs from underneath. Let's raise her up and I'll show you. I'll tell you what, the lift has been getting a workout. I wouldn't be able to do half this stuff without this lift. So yeah, thinking, okay, maybe I could get to those plugs. I don't know if you can see them. I doubt it, because you can barely see them. They're up there. There's 3 of them. Well, the exhaust pipe's in the way. And so I thought, well, maybe I could unbolt the exhaust. So what I did, I cut my exhaust off right here. I cut it. I don't know if you can see that. The light's too bright. Well, everybody was saying, make sure you heat your nuts up there so they don't snap the studs. And you can see I can just get a torch up there. Well, process, that's a flex. It's a little flex pipe right there with the flex of the engine. Made out of stainless, real thin. Now I burned a hole with a torch right through that. Not a big hole, and I don't really hear it. So anyways, I got the exhaust out. I could just get ratchets up there. Of course, the O2 sensor's in the way, or this is in the way. Got 2 plugs out. Went to the 3rd one. It's seized in the head. You know, I bet you nobody's ever changed these plugs. I mean, it's a nightmare to try to change them. Without a lift, you ain't even, no way you'd do it. But yeah, the plug would come out about a 1/4 turn and then seize up. So I left that one in when I did my test, like I was saying. But I went and I put these back in. Didn't really have any trouble. Doing it all blind, just by feel. They started and I put them back in. And then I thought, okay, cool, I'm done. I got to go up to the top, go to the front 3 that I took out. You know, didn't think much of it. I'm home free. Look what I did. I cross-threaded the spark plug in the head, aluminum head. Screwed the threads up in the head. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Yeah, I threw a few some mantrums working on these cars, man, I'll tell you. I'll give you a little tip and see what I was doing. I was trying to start the plug with the spark plug socket. Well, the spark plug socket was hitting their stupid shrouds and heat shields, and it wasn't straight. Whenever you start your spark plugs, use a piece of rubber fuel hose and get your plug started first. And I knew that years ago. but look what I did. I still screwed up the head. Tried new plug, did the same thing. So I went and bought a spark plug tap chase. Well, I thought, you know, this thing would be long and it would self-align. Well, it wasn't going to self-align. I couldn't tell if I was going in crooked or straight. So that was a pain in the butt, but I managed with some alignments and measurements, and I was able to figure out my angle. So I got the threads cleaned up. I got 3 used plugs out of that car at the junkyard, and I got my plugs back in. So, simplest thing. And you know, that ruined that head basically. But the thing of it was, I was going to put 2 new heads on it because the rear plug seized, so that head's junk. And then I screwed up the front head. But yeah, these cars are a pain to work on. I fixed this the power steering return line, which acts as a cooler. It started leaking here, so I know I'm in the shot. I made that, put that together the other night. So I got to put a few things back together. I'll show you one other thing I had to do. Yeah, you can see them rear quarter windows back there. They're power and they open up a little ways. The switch, and both sides open at the same time. Well, I opened them this summer. Well, then they wouldn't shut. They just quit working. They opened up and then they stuck open and wouldn't shut. And my passenger door locks got funky and they weren't working right. But if you look, you see some rust right here. And it's the same way on the other side. And when I'm sitting in the car, when it's raining, it's dripping inside. Drips down on the power window lock buttons. And this side was doing it. Well, I read on the internet that all your wiring harness, it's right down here under the carpet. And this leak, it would leak right here, drip straight down. When I pulled this carpet up, it was like 2 inches of water in this thing. Well, and then their harness, they put it all together, made all these connections right here. And they were all corroded and broke and falling apart. So I soldered and fixed, I don't know, about 10 connections there. So that got my quarter windows working, door locks working. I just got it propped up. It's pretty dry now. But what it is, it's not, see how this side here, it's rusted a hole. You can see that. But it's not leaking here or around the windshield. It's the luggage rack, apparently. Because I ran the garden hose on it, and you can run it all day right there and it wouldn't leak. But you come back here and spray, and then it leak. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take silicone, go around all these. You might be able to figure out which one it is, but it does it on both sides. So yeah, the water goes in, runs across, down across. That's what rusted all this out. That was staying wet up in there. Well, but the dumb van's only got 125,000, which is, you know, pretty low. Tell you, man, Facebook ain't nothing but a bunch of junk on there. Overpriced, 250,000 miles, tranny's bad, tranny slips or overheats, which means it's got a blowed head gasket. When you get a car that starts overheating, that means it's got a blowed head gasket. So, you know, I got spoiled. I bought this off my neighbor for $500, and it was like turnkey, and it was like nice van, and boy, you can't find nothing like that price. And $1,500 is like my maximum and that I could spend, and I couldn't even find nothing. I was safe, felt safe to buy. So, but anyways, that's what I've been doing. And but I was getting ready to make a video on the truck, and then I got sidetracked with all this crap. So hopefully maybe the next video will be on the truck. I get her fired up, and I got me some cooler wheels and some cool tires put on her. And so I need to get back on this, but I don't plan on driving it till summer, so I got all winter to play with the truck. But no, I miss my van. I don't like little cars. I mean, it gets me where I want to go, but my van, man, I can put all kinds of junk in this thing. I liked it. I take the seats out. I cleaned some of it out, but you can see big old junk collector. Yeah, you got all this room. I got one seat. I can have my toolboxes and stuff in here. There ain't no room in this car. And I'm just going to trash the back seats in it just that quick. But all right, well, and there's the drone. I did get a video up. Of course, we had like a huge snowstorm, middle of November already. But yeah, got a cool video. Got a free 50-inch TV that it'd turn on sometimes and then it wouldn't. And I took it apart and I heated one of the chips. But then I think I found it was just a cable loose. So it's been turning on. So I said, well, make sure I'll turn it on a couple, 3 or 4 times a day for a week. Yeah, as long as that Phillips comes up, it's good. But sometimes that Phillips wouldn't come up. So this has been working. Yeah, just been playing around in the garage. The weather's been crap. The whole fall was horrible. Rained. Trees never got pretty. It was just raining and nasty, and I didn't fly for about a month and a half. Fly the drone. So that'll mean winter will be better, hopefully. All right, guys. Well, that's been my nightmare. That working on these cars, man. But everything's so much tighter in this van. I mean, you know, look, it's about half. Now this car, if you needed to work on this engine in this car, it wouldn't be near as bad, because you can get to all the stuff. You could actually change these rear plugs in this thing. That's the bad thing about the van. They crammed it in there, that engine. But all right, it's gonna be long. If you make it this far, I'll give you a prize. See you guys later. Bye.